Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the hopefully the final video for the 351 modified rebuild dealio thing that I've had to do. In this video, there should be valve train or heads, just fixing the heads, cleaning the valves up, making sure nothing's wrong there. Reassembly and putting it back in the old 77 F250. But first, we're going to start off by disassembling this pump here and making sure everything's good and cleaning it up because it's pretty disgusting. So we're gonna jump right into that. Yeah, let's get into it. All right, so these 4 bolts here are gonna be 7/16. We're just gonna pop them on off. This thing is extremely dirty, so trying not to touch it. If I can get them off, don't round them off. Okay, those don't want to come off, so I'm gonna have to get. Alright, got the air gun here. There we go. Wow, look, that came off nice and easy. You can get a rebuild kit for these, and you can also buy them new. You'll want to do some research. I've heard that putting high volume oil pumps in engines can be bad for them because it splashes excess oil in the cylinder walls and some other things. I can't quite remember what, but you'll want to look into that before you do it. There we go. Looks about right. You can get rebuild kits for these. I don't know how they work. Whew, that stinks. So this guy probably is about on its way out, but I don't have the money to go buy a new one, so it's getting reused. I'm going to disassemble it and then use cleaner and clean it, and then throw some assembly lube in it, probably just a little bit, maybe some motor oil. But yeah, so that plate comes off there, set that there. Looks like I might be able to I'm not sure how to get it to come on up out of there. Honestly, I don't know. Oh, there we go. Okay. Looks like there's also, oh, there's not one under it, so it's just this piece. And then I'm going to assume this piece. Yep, that looks about right. That just goes in there. There's a hole on this back side. The hole faces down, and that just slips in. It doesn't look like it has any orientation or anything. And then this guy just slips down in there as well. And because the hole is offset, it just rotates. I'm definitely going to want to clean this now because I got stuff all over it. And yeah, you'll want to make sure that this is not super worn out. If it is, you'll probably want to replace it because if that goes out, the engine goes out. No oil to anything. So you just want to make absolute sure that this thing is prepped and ready to go. Alright everyone, it is a new day. Today I'm going to be tackling the head. I covered in the last clip, I do believe, I covered the clip before last, I covered the engine, and then I did the oil pump. Okay, just want to make sure. We got one of the heads here. Today we're going to be removing the valves, and just cleaning everything up, and reinstalling new valve seat hat, I can't quite remember what they're called. They keep oil from leaking down into the seal right here. These are obviously junk. This was one of them. It was just completely falling apart, laying in the engine. That's probably why this thing had blue smoke, is because, I mean, let's see. There's not one there, not one there. That one slid way up, that one slid way up, that one slid way up, that one's broken. So, they're not, not doing what they're supposed to be doing at all. So, got this tool from Harbor Freight. Super cheap, but it works great. It is a valve spring compressor tool, so I'm going to show you guys how to use this today real quick because it took me a little bit. So what you'll do is put it on there like that. You want to make sure that these hooks down here are in fact clamping on the spring. Yesterday I had one of them try to slip off, so it looks like it's gonna be right about there. You'll screw this down, and the way this works is it's gonna compress just the spring. And I see how it did that. I am wearing gloves because you don't want to get your fingers You don't want to get your fingers pinched, and it's good safety. It's wanting to slip off again. It's being irritating. Maybe the 1-up will work. I don't know. We could try it. So the way it works is it's going to compress the spring, and I just hold it like this. You rotate it, and it collapses the spring down, or it compresses the spring. I just want to make sure don't grab it up too high because you can open it or something. I'm just holding it down here. So that's about as tight as it's going to get. I can already tell it's probably not going to be loose enough. You're going to want to put something under the valve. I'm just using a screwdriver. And you'll want to pop it down. Just lightly tap. I am wearing real gloves, quote real, because rubber gloves are going to provide no protection at all. What you're trying to do is separate the valve seats get stuck sometimes, so you're trying to separate them, and you don't want to go bashing it really hard. I don't know what that was. Because what can happen is it could bend the valve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over like so, hold it, and I am going to lightly, do not slam on it. There we go, just barely. I mean, you don't got to go crazy. You do not want to bend the valve. You want to make sure you hit right in the center of the valves. You do not want to hit off to one side because you could easily bend something, and that's going to be a bad day for you. So you're going to put your compressor down. As you can see, it's loose now. I've already taken 2 of these out. Magnet that's really, really dirty. Way too dirty. I don't know where it got all this dirt from. You'll want to make sure that's completely cleaned off when you go to reassemble. But what you do is you're trying to get these little clip doodads out of here. And it does help to push down. And there's one right there, as you can see. These are like the valve seat they're the retainers for the valves is what they are. Come around to the back. Get the other one out. They can be a little difficult. You just want to make sure you really compress. There we go. And then this slides right off. The hat came off, as you can see. So I'm just holding it, keeping it compressed, and just unscrewing it, making sure that it can't fly out at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And if you're smart about this, you won't get hurt. If you're dumb about it, there's a good chance you might get gassed by something if it comes flying off. So we're loose. You take it, pop it open, and there you go. This does come apart like that. I'm not replacing any of this because I don't have the money, time, and it actually doesn't need to be replaced. The valve seats are a little iffy, but they're actually not very bad. As you can see, the valve moves up and down. Flip it over. The valve is right here. You'll go ahead and pop it on out. It's getting a little stuck in the seat there. Try rotating it. It does not want to come out for some reason. I guess I'm just gonna have to work it back and forth. Alrighty everyone, got the valve out. I just took some 400 grit. I went and talked to my pops, and he suggested doing what I was gonna do, which was just sanded the end of this with some 400 grit. Nothing crazy, just enough. That, and I'll take these through the grinder wheel real quick, clean them all up. Take this off, this head gasket, clean all these with this plastic bristle brush, and you know, just clean them all off, clean this surface off, these surfaces, clean everything with some solvent and wash it with water. I was going to sandblast this, but it requires taping all the ports off, and sand could get all over the place, so I'm just not going to do that. It really doesn't need to be done. You know, just some hefty cleaning also going to use a metal scrubby brush. It'll work great. Just you want to be careful with these seats, this surface, and any of these surfaces up here you want to be careful with. So I'm going to do a quick, probably, I'm just going to get all these off. It's, you know, same procedure. Get this on here, make sure it's hooked well, drop it down, make sure you have something supporting the valve, either tap on the bottom of the valve or tap on the top of this, depending on how stuck that is. You don't want to bend the valve. You notice how gently I was tapping. If you bend the valve, you have to buy a new one, because it'll hang open. You'll have low compression, no compression, all sorts of problems. You want to be careful of the valve train. And you could use this time to replace, I believe these can be replaced here. As you can see, that one is completely different than these, which is quite interesting. I'm not sure why that is. That one's different, but regardless, no big deal. So, pretty straightforward. Get all these out. Make sure you put them in order. I'm just putting them in order in a straight line because they're basically in a straight line here. They're just zigzagged. So, I got the headers there, or the manifolds, cooked them off in the oven. I got the valve cover in there. Reason I did that, it's resting, that sucks. Reason I did that is to get some of the water off. I'm gonna go ahead and close that. So that's drying out. I cleaned that. I cleaned it a lot, multiple times. So what we're doing now is these valves. Let me see. Intake, exhaust. They are different heights. Intake and exhaust valves are on these. And these are the ones that I've cleaned with the. Hold on a second. Whoa. I'm just moving stuff around here. I gotta stay organized. These are the ones I already cleaned. Right there. Versus that. This one I started to clean the bottom. I got more to do. All that weird stuff on there needs to come off. Look at this one. And then that is a lot cleaner. So. Yeah, and then I'll just probably take a Scotch-Brite to those, just clean the tops of them off or something. And the springs, I'll just take the springs out and scrub them off. But I just want to show you guys that. I'm putting them in the grinder. The way I'm doing it is, you want to be careful. Most likely your grinder is not going to be as gnarly as this. I am not a fan of this grinder. It's dangerous. So I'm just leaning into it like this. You don't want to tip in because it would suck it and break it off. I mean, this thing has eaten bolts before, and it's like send it across the shop. So I'll do that. I'll lightly go along the like barely pushing, and then I'll actually put it in there like this while it's going and rotate it a whole bunch until it cleans it all off. And same with the other one. So at first I didn't realize that all that needs to come off, but see how it's all that all will be smooth once I get it done. The one beforehand was definitely didn't look like that. That's exhaust. This is intake. I believe this is intake. So I just got to clean that as well. And then I will lubricate everything, make sure everything's clean, make sure none of them are bent. I don't see that they're bent. I'll have to take these off because they kind of have an illusion there, but I'll do all those. I'll do all these while I'm at it, get them out of the road, and then we'll move on. I won't record it, but I'm going to do that head as well because there's no need to record something I already did. And I will see you guys for reassembly on this head, and then the other one you won't see at all. It'll just be done because you've already seen this one. On the heads, you want to make sure that your gasket is the correct gasket, your head gasket. I'm pretty surprised. They block off a huge coolant passage on these motors there and down there, and I couldn't find a head gasket that didn't have that. The ones I ordered are the exact same style as that, but I'm just gonna go with it because it didn't overheat when I had those in. It ran just fine actually. Like, coolant temp was great. And now that I cleaned the coolant passages out, it's probably gonna run way cooler because it was basically clogged. I think while I'm at it, these ports here, where the water pump pumps in, I'm gonna take a file and file these out because they're actually quite restricted. This one's restricted like a ton on this side, so I'll just put some, I'll just put some tape somewhere around in here and just lightly do it because I want to increase these so there's more flow through the block. And these don't really have heating, cooling issues, but just make sure. You never know what scenario the truck could get into down the road. I'm gonna have to repaint that. It flash rusted, and as you can tell, it is a crazy different color of white from everything else. So that sucks, but this paint did not turn out wonderful, and I'm not painting the heads. The reason I'm not painting the heads is, and I'm not painting the block, is if I'm gonna paint those, I want it to be good paint. While this Rust-Oleum stove paint works pretty decent, it's not doing as well this time. The paint seems like it used to perform better. I don't know if they changed some formula, but if I'm gonna do this most likely down the road, I'm hoping to be able to repaint all this. I'm gonna actually do some like out of a gun spray automotive paint, a paint gun, because you know, while spray paint's great and easy, if you want to last long, or you do the roll-on stuff, but I'm not gonna do that. I just don't have time. It's a lot of extra work. It's like a whole nother round of super laborious work. I gotta tape everything off, paint everything, put it in the oven, wait. Just, I'm not willing to do that. So it's good enough for me. I'm super happy with the way that turned out. That looks so cool. I can't wait till this thing's back together. And the head actually is not that dirty. It's got the original Ford blue on it, but whatever, you know, it doesn't matter. It'll remind me to come back to the vehicle later. That's what it'll do. So yeah, I would not recommend, by the way. If you do get an oven, usually you can find it pretty cheap. Make sure they work, make sure they didn't catch on fire, stuff like that. If you have anything that's got rubber, harmonic balancer had rubber, water pump has rubber inside, I baked those off 3 times or 2 to 3 times at 300, I believe. And things like the intake manifold, or the intake manifold I baked off at 475. Those I did 375 because of the PCV there and the sticker. The sticker actually changed color, it got so hot. And that as well I did. Oh, I wasn't able to do that because it wouldn't fit in the oven. So those I baked off at 475 as well, that heat shield and all that just metal stuff. But other than that, I'm going to get to finishing this, and I will see you guys for reassembly. Reassembly is going to be pretty simple. So catch you guys in a little bit. Okay everyone, it is time for reassembly. This block is still, or this head is still very hot, so I have to wear gloves. I didn't end up having to spray the bottom of it down with some WD-40 because it was starting to flash rust, even though I had put it in the oven at 200 degrees and baked all the water off. It still was wanting to rust. So I'm just gonna start reassembling stuff. You know, when you reassemble this, you're gonna want to add lubricant around the valve here, and we'll get into how to install the springs. I'm just going to throw in some random clips of me doing stuff, so we're going to get right into it. What we'll do is we're going to go like this. I'm going to do just a little bit, nothing crazy. Spread it around this. Slide this up through there. Don't want to do too much, just a thin coat because it does add some drag on it because it's not engine oil. Next, we're going to want to grab this, throw our gloves back on. I'll probably wear my gloves for a majority of this because that tool is cheap and it's kind of sharp. So that's how I got it. Now I'm going to close it like this. Make sure that, again, you're holding it so it doesn't fly out. We've got our little seals here, our oil deflectors with, got little metal springs on them, keep them tight. We'll just take one of these, pull this off real quick. Pop this guy on. As you can see, that sits there, and the valve should move freely. Let's let's see here. This is still extremely hot. Can you guys see it? As you can tell, it wants to move up with it, but you have to remember that it'll only go up to like there because the seats and everything are here. So, yep, I don't like that they ride up, but what can you do about it? I'd prefer if it sat down there, but that's all right. So, again, make sure that the valve is being held open. Apparently, I'm needing to do it again here. You can see they have little grooves in them. What those little grooves do. Sorry, I'm struggling here. What those little grooves do there is those grooves sit in the grooves on here of the valve. And they sit like that and keep the valve from slipping out. So we got one that's clean. Good to go. Let's take it, set it down in there. Good to go. Down in there as well. And then I gotta throw the gloves back on because this thing hurts my hands. You guys can still see. Yep. So I'm gonna hold it up and undo it. And boom, your spring is in, and your valve can now freely compress, and everything's in there good to go. Obviously, when we go to reinstall the rocker arms, we'll want to put some assembly lubricant right here, because the rocker arm will tap against that. So I am going to knock all of these other ones out, and I will catch you guys when this head is done. Alright everyone, the head is done for the, oh wait a minute, yeah, for the passenger side. This will be the passenger side head. Some things I would recommend while doing this: make sure you clean stuff. Somehow on this table some sand got up, some grit, it was some sand mixed in with some of this like broken material. Just make sure that you just clean the valve off. Just give it a quick inspection before you pop it in, and don't use too much of this assembly lube on the valve stem, because it might cause the valve to hang open or do something weird. You know, you don't want there to be any resistance on the close of the valve, because when you're doing cam break-in, or you know, it could hit a piston, that would be bad. More than likely it wouldn't do it because it would have to have more force than the spring, and it's joined to the spring via the keepers. These keepers, what I would recommend with these keepers is sometimes you might have to press down on the tool. So if like the tool was in here like this, sometimes I had to press down on it. Sometimes I also had to move it around, and what it does is if you can't get in on the back side, like all of these are facing like there and here and there and here, and the line, they're divided this way. Sometimes like on this one I couldn't get in on this back side. This one I kept dropping it down in there, so I had to rotate it, and I was able to install it in the front. And with your fingers it's actually pretty easy. I actually really like this tool. For $8, this tool's awesome. It's super easy to be able to get them down in there. And one thing that happens is these have 4 ridges on them, but the tool only sits in 3 or something like that. They kept getting stuck on the bottom ridge, so you'd have to like kind of push on them. I also clean these up. These are the head bolts, super clean. They were really dirty, so I just used a thread chaser and cleaned them up on the wire wheel, and those are good to go as well. You will want to double check in later years of engines. There is some torque to yield bolts that start getting introduced. So other than that, everything's good to go. Got my little hats in on all of them, my little oil hats, and I pressed down on all of them. I went through and they all return, so everything's good to go. I'm going to do the other head, and I will see you guys for whatever I decide to do next. Alrighty everyone, it is a new day. Got both heads done, got all my little hat doodads in there. Everything's cleaned up. All the head bolts are nice and clean. Ran them through the grinder. Now we are going to be installing the oil pump and pan and getting this thing flipped over so I can start putting stuff back together. We're gonna see if I can not scratch that. I'm gonna see if I can't do it, but in the kit I got, here's the oil pump. The oil pump sits like this in the motor, like that. And the gasket for it looks like this right here. It's got a little ear on it right there. And that is gonna sit, I do believe, like so. Like that. Right there. I believe, because it's got the little mark here. So I will get you guys set up on the tripod. The torque specs for these two bolts is 20 to 32 foot-pounds, I believe. Right down there is where the oil pump drive goes, and I do believe this end is the end that is that bent? No, it's not. This end right here is the end that goes in the you guys are recording, right? Yeah. Alright everyone, so we're just gonna start these here. Okay. And okay. You know, again, I'd rather have these be slightly over torqued than under because this is a pretty important component. As you can see, it's stuck on there now. So next up, we're going to get these, we're going to get the oil pan on. So that's going to require gaskets up front and on the back. Alrighty everybody, we're going to be installing the this cam plug right here is what I would call it. When you install this, you want to make sure you don't go too far, because what could happen if you went too far is the cam would ride against this, and you don't want that. So I just put a super thin layer of RTV on there to keep it from leaking. And I'm going to take this, put it on here, go like this, make sure it's even. I don't like that the lettering's sideways. My LCD. Alright everybody, we're going to be installing the plug on the back of the engine. I did put some RTV on this because, well, when this is installed, you can't get to that in the bell housing area, so just giving it the best chance of not leaking. And I'm going to go ahead and call that good. Right there. I like that. Dang it. Where the heck did all that come from? There we go. Let's see if I can make this. Alrighty everyone, we got the cam in, it is down there, put in. I lubricated everything best I could. I ended up using my hands, and as you can see, the cam is pretty sharp, so be careful. I knew that, I just didn't have gloves to put on. This is the cam thrust plate. This does go on a specific way. This way faces out. As you can see, it's got the little bolt marks. So this side will face the cam, this side will face the oil pump, or the fuel pump driver. These little guys right here online, it says, I believe, 9 to 12 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna just get them just hand snug and put some Loctite on the ends. Nothing real crazy. That all goes right there in that bolt and that bolt, and it goes around that. So the order you're gonna have to do this in, this actually could have stayed off, but you're gonna have to do cam, so you'll have to do cam, timing set, sprocket, chain, and the piece that goes on here. You'll want to time it. Obviously, you'll want to time the crank to the cam. Not super hard to do. We'll do it. And then you'll want to do timing cover. You want to make sure with the timing cover that you install your plug on the timing cover. I do believe this plug goes this way on the timing cover. Let me look here. I'm actually not sure. I'm gonna have to look at that, see which way it goes. So this doesn't, first for some reason I thought this sealed the camshaft, or the crankshaft snout right there, I guess you could call it. It actually seals on the underside of the harmonic balancer. So if you put it on and it's still loose, it's because it seals on the harmonic balancer, not the crank. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. This is a little tight, but I did take the whole thing back out again because I want to make extra sure the bearings show no scratching signs or anything weird. So I'm just gonna run it maybe a little tight. And if yours is tight, you can do a thing called scraping bearings, but that's up to you. You can choose to do that or not. This takes minimal effort to turn over. I can't do it by hand on that little nub. It's pretty hard to do. One thing I'm learning is that this Clevite assembly lubricant, not sponsored by Clevite at all, if it'll focus, is it is very thick stuff. The stuff people use online usually come in like a weird square shaped tube that's like mushing out a bottle, and that stuff seems to be way less thick. This stuff here is, seeing the videos online of what people normally use, that in just the stuff that seems like you can buy almost anywhere. It comes in like a soft thingy versus a bottle. This stuff is really thick and it's very abrasive, like it holds on, which is really good. It's got some extreme pressure rating to provide proper lubrication. So again, not affiliated with them in any way. Clevite's actually a Mall brand, so hey, I'm gonna trust it, man. Mall's a reputable brand, so I'm gonna go ahead and get those on. Pretty simple, just want to make sure it lines up. Put the bolts on, again 9 to 12, don't monkey wrench them or strip them out. And I'm gonna put some Loctite on them so they don't come out, because that would be really, really bad if that came out. If that came out, basically it would ruin that, lifters, push rods, it would destroy a lot of stuff. So make sure that gets put on right, and yeah, I'm gonna get to it. I had to take a break because it's super windy out and there's supposed to be a storm that's hitting the west coast, some crazy storm. We'll see. It's pretty gnarly out right now, like, not gonna lie, it's pretty windy. So other than that, I'm gonna get to it. And also I haven't done the block plugs or the freeze plugs. I don't know why. Freeze plugs aren't a huge deal. The reason I haven't done them yet is because I want to blow it out one last time and I want to make sure everything's sealed up. I'll probably do those just before I go to flip the motor over, to put heads and all the top end stuff on, but I'm gonna get to that right now. Installing the camshaft thrust plate. Yeah. Alrighty everybody, we're back. I ended up taking a little break, but we're gonna be installing the timing kit here. This is the correct one. So these motors used to have one. My oil pan was full of it. I believe from the factory these motors had a timing gear. This is the cam timing gear. This one's the crank sprocket, I guess you could call it. This sprocket, I guess this would be a gear. I don't know. Anyways, there's a keyway on this crank down here, or a key on the crank. And the way you can tell if they're straight up or not, you want to double check again. This key will line up here. By some odd chance, you might have a retarded or an advanced timing set. And I believe if that's the case, the mark will be off on this piece or something weird. So, I don't know, this is straight up. That's what you call these, is a straight up set. So, I'm gonna stick this guy on there. As you can see, slips on. And then this goes down here and it faces this direction, I do believe. Faces like this. So there's a little keeper on the cam in the circular part, and on here I believe it goes on like this, because the fuel pump driver, which the fuel pump would have a little arm that sits here that flips up and down, it's back there, goes on here, I do believe. So pretty sure that's right. We'll see if I can turn it with this little guy wrench here. While it is easier to turn, it's still, you know, still got a whole bunch of rotating assembly. So okay, wait, I went too far, I think. Hold on. We need to make sure that cylinder number 1 is here. This is cylinder number 1 flipped over. You know, if it's in the truck, this is cylinder number 1. So I'm gonna go ahead and just give it one more rotation around until we get it lined up right there, and that needs to get lined up. Okay, I see how you have to do it. So the chain has to go on here first, like, come on, like so, and then it's gonna go on here. Oh, wait a minute. You want to line it up, let it dangle, the dots line up, and you want to slide this. Let's try giving it some persuasion. It's backed up. There we go. We'll give it a rotation just to make sure everything is good to go. So that's more or less top dead center there. This controls your valve. This controls your valve. What do you call it? There's a term for it. Valve instances? Your valve. When your valve's open and close. So right now we're top dead center. These are lined up, and if I rotate it, this weight is right here. If I were to rotate it around and stop there, but this dot's down here, so I'm going to assume this is probably going to be exhaust, and then actually don't know. Alrighty everyone, it's the next day. I just got done recording a YouTube video of how pushrod engines and how carbureted engines work somewhat simply, somewhat complicated. I did want to double check on this and make sure that I didn't install the cam 180 out. And after looking, it doesn't appear that you can. Well, you could do it, but you know, as long as you line everything up here, you know, the dots line up. The dot for the cam gear, 12 o'clock. Dot for the crank gear, 6 o'clock. And everything's lined up, top dead center, good to go. So now we need to install the timing cover and timing cover gaskets. And this is also doubles as the, you know, the water pump cover This cover here goes on this way with this part sticking out. It does not go on like this. It goes on like this. That's how it was when I took it off, so that's how it is when I'm gonna put it back on. I'm just gonna hit it on with a hammer here. I should be able to do it pretty easy. Just so that's in there, just pounded it in. I don't know if you're supposed to put any oil on there, I don't know. So, next up, I guess we need to install the fuel pump, and the, well, you don't have to install the fuel pump right now. I'm actually gonna wait to install the fuel pump. What you do have to install is the fuel pump drive, the oscillating dealio, which is right here. Not dirty in any way, shape, or form. We'll take them, this goes in here like so. I don't know if there's assembly lubricant required for any of this. I have to think. There might need to be some assembly. Oh yeah, there is, okay. Okay, so what we're gonna do, as you can see, this does slide around in here, so we want to, any surface that's gonna have some sort of wear, you want to put a little bit of this stuff. I'm not gonna do a whole lot, obviously. You know, you don't want it slipping or something weird, so I'm just gonna do a very thin layer around it here. I mean, we're talking thin. Alrighty, everyone. I put just a smidgen of Loctite on there, nothing crazy. The torque spec is 40 to 45 foot-pounds, so slide this guy in here, throw it in here. You want to make sure that the little lock, there's a little dowel pin sticking out, sits in the hole of the sprocket. There we go. That's good enough for me. We'll do it one more time. No, we already did it 3 times. That's good. Okay, everybody. So I got most of, well, I got all of what I needed RTV'd. These 2 bolts up here are holding the timing cover on. I had to do those 2 holes, and I did around those because they're kind of pitted out. I have the water pump right here with the gasket on, and I went ahead and did RTV all the way around that because I figured, why not? Better safe than sorry. So I've got 2 of these guys. We're gonna go like, I have to think, how does this go on? This is gonna go on like, okay, real fast. Okay. Let's talk to you guys. Alrighty, everyone. So real quick, while this is setting up, I'm gonna go look online or on my computer and see where all these went, just to double check that I got that right. And yeah, so I'm gonna go check that now. Hopefully this should all clean off with some. This should all clean off with some water. All this dirt I got on here, I can't help it. You know how it goes. So, yeah. Alrighty, everyone. I went and double checked. One of the long ones, it doesn't go here. It goes down here next to the heater outlet down here. So you got the 2 long ones here and 1 here. I probably need another one for right there, but for right now, that's good. So what I'm gonna do is some of these, like these right here, go into the back side of this. So what you want to do is I'm going to torque this down, let the RTV set up, and then I will pull these back out and put a little bit of RTV on them. The torque spec it said is 12 to 18. I'm going to do 20, just nice round number. So we're going to get right to that. Okay, I'm going to go through one more time. Boom. Boom. Well, that should actually be good. The reason you don't go crazy on these is because you probably warped this plate here. You know, you might think like 40, but no, it's just some little amount here for these guys. Oh, I'm also gonna do this one. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and get this thing installed. Okay, so the reason I went around that again is because tightening these two and tightening this are gonna tighten the gap that was here. So ideally you want to tighten the timing cover bolts first and the water pump second. So I'm gonna let that all set up, and next up we will put the oil pan on. Sounds good. Okay everybody, we're going to be installing these. These are the front and rear seals for the oil pan. This is a multiple piece set, so it's also got these which go along the sides. When you're installing this style, you will want to put some of this here, and same on the back sides. These fit really bad. I ended up having to trim the little ears off. There were some little ears that stuck out. They don't fit that great, but what can you do? Gotta make do with what I got. So the rest of them are going to be 7/16. And you want to make sure that your gasket is not slid inside. You want to look, make sure you can see it in the hole there. Alrighty everybody, it has been a little bit kind of a weird cut there. There was some other work going on in the shop, not the only one in here, so I took a break. I think I went and ate some food, and I ended up running to the store to get some sandpaper because I got some other projects I got going on. But I went ahead and tightened down the pan bolts. One thing I do want to say is the kit I ordered comes with some extra different things. So I looked this guy up here, because this is laying outside on the ground and it's old. This is a oil pump pickup tube gasket. Mine's screw-in style. This one is to a style that's got like this clamp, I don't know. So, and I didn't end up using this guy here. I ended up using another one. So I ended up getting this on. I did RTV the corners, and they do got mush out on them, so hopefully those won't leak. I'm curious to see if this will leak. I don't think it will, but I just went through, got them all hand tight once with just the extension in the socket, and then I went through, got them tight, and I went through again and got them pretty tight and did the 1, 2, 3, and I don't think I mushed them too bad actually. You want to be careful with cork gaskets. You don't want to really mush them, but that's not bad actually. You want it just to where it starts to mush out like that. So, and that's just over hand tight, which is perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get this engine flipped over. I think first I'm actually going to install the harmonic balancer. Do I want to do that? Do I want to have the harmonic? I'm going to wait on the harmonic balancer. So we're going to get this engine flipped over and put back on that so it can be moved around. And also, we're getting very close to the end of it. I have to put the heads on. And first we're going to do these plugs. Actually, we're going to do the freeze plugs. I'm really not going to show you guys the freeze plugs. They're kind of a pain in the butt, and they're not super complicated. You just take gasket maker. I got this new old kit, this new old stock kit off eBay right here. I already showed you guys installing that center plug, and I ended up not using these because we need to take them out. These guys here go in the freeze plugs, and if you're wondering, This is the kit. I don't know if that means anything to anybody, but it's got that on the back. So I'm gonna go ahead and install those. Just put some RTV thin layer on the outside and hit them in with a socket. You want to make sure you don't go too far with them. That's the size also of these. That's the size there. The size for the one on the back is 2.5. And the part number on that is, I can't read it actually. What is it? 2260, I guess. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these guys in here and get them put in. So catch you guys when all 6 of them are in. You know what, you might be able to, I don't know, you can't. Just to show you guys real quick, all the plugs are in. We'll have to see if this one leaks. This was the original one that was causing problems, I think. Maybe not. No, this wasn't the one, but someone did definitely try to RTV it or something. That one popped out and I popped back in. It was definitely looser because it had been compressed, but it still popped back in. So we'll see if when the engine expands and everything gets hot, if it seals. If it doesn't, we'll cross that road when we come to it. But I'm gonna get this thing flipped over and call it a night. So catch you guys in the morning.